Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on Their Fight Story. Today we have Shane Dillehay, who is currently 3-2. Shane, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. You will be fighting this Thursday. How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel good. I just finished up a weight cut, so I feel pretty confident in that. Um, with this being my fifth fight this year,
Yeah.
I think I got the weight cut down pretty good now. So didn't really have time to put on a lot of weight and have to go back and cut it all off. So usually I walk around at 205 pounds. Now I'm walking around at about 180, 185. So I feel good. It's a real easy weight cut for me so far. But other than that,
Wow.
I feel good.
When I saw that you were fighting, I got confused because
Mhm.
there's a boxing in the daytime, and then you have, I guess, MMA at night.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the 19th, there's something else going on. I was so confused. I was like, when is he fighting? I'm like, is he doing boxing? I was so confused. I didn't know which one you were going to be doing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So CES is pretty much all over the place right now. They have a lot going on.
Yeah.
They're really getting their spoons in all categories. So they got boxing going on. They got the grappling matches going on, and then they got the the fights for the UFC Fight Pass on the MMA fights broadcasting. So when the broadcast starts for the UFC Fight Pass, that's when we're going on. Uh, which we have guys fighting on that card with me. We did have two guys ended up not fighting. Unfortunately, I was going to fight with some of my idols, but I am still fighting with one of them, and that's Dion. So Dion's going to be on the card with me. I do have a lot of friends and a lot of teammates going to be doing the grappling matches, and then once we finish this up, we're going to go right up to New Hampshire, and we got a card going out in New Hampshire with some of our team fighting too. So yeah, they're fighting on Calvin Cater's promotion on Saturday. So there's a couple guys there too. So everyone's in fight camp, which is nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
How's the stress level going with there?
it's intense. It's intense. We really feel for Coach Pete as the head coach. He's kind of traveling and going around everywhere. I mean, we did have two guys drop out in this one,
Yeah.
but we still have those grappling matches. We still have me and Dion fighting on the MMA aspect of it. Then he's going to have to turn around and shoot up in New Hampshire, and we have multiple guys fighting on that card too. A couple of our AMEs are going to be fighting, so it's gonna be cool. He's gonna have a busy weekend, but everyone's happy. It's good to be in fight camp with the whole team, so everyone's being really intense. Everyone's going through the same process, so it's cool to see that. It's one thing I always wanted to do.
Yeah. I find that very interesting when there's so many different fighters and events happening basically at the same time because okay, you have the grappling, so you have one group that's focusing on a certain aspect of the ground technique, right? But it could help you secure a certain technique and stuff like that, but you also have to focus on your stand up, and then you have another sparring partner that probably has to work on another aspect. So it's kind of like, how do you find that balance to make sure that you have the right amount of, I guess, support at the different aspects that you need, whether it's stand up, the ground, and not losing that focus that you need.
Absolutely. So what we do during the week, and this is every week, that doesn't matter if we're in training camp or if we're in training camp, our schedule never changes. So, we during the week we go through our classes, whether it's jujitsu, from gi to no gi, to Muay Thai to wrestling, to even some boxing aspects as well. We do get some love from Gary Boletto Jr. I shoot over to his gym and get my boxing aspect in too, when it's just strictly boxing. But during the week, 3 times a week, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have our MMA team class. And our MMA team class is strictly tailored to what we're going to be doing in our fight, like for our fights or in our fight camp when we're in camp. If we're not in camp, it's going to be general focus on techniques and skills. When we're in camp, however, those classes begin to get tailored around those guys that are fighting. It's still a very good class. Everyone still gets to learn, but we begin to tailor each other down. So looking at certain aspects of what people are good at that we're going against and how we're going to capitalize on it. Then we get the pleasure of going, sparring on Wednesdays, and then we even get to spar at Lowe's on Saturdays, which is nice. So we get to put those skills to the test. But the MMA class specifically is what we use to tie everything together.
Yeah.
That's what we use to take that hour and a half to really tailor us into what we're doing and what we're preparing for. Whether it's me and Dion going and his guy might be good at some things that he's not at or a little bit better, I try to tailor for reps. I try to tailor my training to give him a good look, as he will do the same towards me. And that's with all the fighters that are in that camp. So whether it's John Duma, Gary Valletto, Dion, Ty, whoever else is in there, we do the same thing.
For this fight camp, were you presented with any obstacles?
Many. Very. Yeah, so with this being my 5th fight this year, I have not had a break to recuperate my body at all. And I did end up injuring my neck. And so that was a hard task for me to get over, because it put me down at the beginning of my camp. It put me down for a solid 2 weeks. I really had to I ended up doing, I had a minor tear in my trap on my left side, minor tear, but you don't realize how bad those things are until you don't get the chance to use them. Fortunately enough, it was a quick recovery back, but for those first 2 weeks, it was pretty bad. And then continuing to work through a camp and getting better at what I'm doing, but also having the wear and tear on my body, that was a challenge. The weight wasn't a challenge, which is always the hardest part, I always say. But that was a challenge because I haven't had a break. I haven't been able to come off a camp, not do much, relax and focus on, just getting better and recuperate my body. With that being said, though, I do feel better. I do feel more conditioned. I do feel stronger. I definitely am getting better at what I'm doing. But after this, we get a little bit of a break, and then we're back in on February. We're going back in for another 4 to 5 fights next year. So
nice. Well, at least it's this week, because next week is going to be Thanksgiving. So you don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, I can't really eat what I want.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's actually a great thing. We've already prepared, me and Molly, my fiance, because this time last year I was going to a camp for my January fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to do anything for Thanksgiving other than travel 9 to 10 hours and watch people eat. I had a great time with my family, but I didn't get to eat much. And then I had to miss out on Christmas dinner as well, which was also horrible because I love to eat. So this year, this is my last fight of the year, unless I get offered a really good deal. This is going to be it for the year, and then we're going to be back in February. So I'm happy I get to enjoy the holidays this time.
I'm glad you're going to be able to enjoy it as well. I don't know how you guys do it, honestly. I don't know how you do it, because it's a lot, and people don't, I was speaking with another fighter, people don't understand the sacrifices that you guys do. They minimize it, and it's kind of, it's a lifestyle. We understand it's a lifestyle. At the same time, you have to set aside certain things that you normally would do, and it's quality time with the family. It's eating good food. It's a lot of stuff, and it takes a mental and an emotional toll on you. So that's the added part of it. It's not only are you preparing for a fight, you have to make weight, and then there's a mental and emotional aspect that comes with it. Luckily, you'll be finishing that this week and you'll be able to enjoy it. But yeah, that's one part that people always overlook, and they think that you guys make it look easy. Let's just put it that way. You guys make it look easy, that people minimize all the work that you guys put in.
I agree completely. There's so many people that don't understand because they don't see it. So they may see a promo video. They may see a promo video of training. They may see us post things and little clips of us getting ready, putting in the time. But they also don't see, when I'm working 5:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon, and then I come home, shower, and I take myself to the gym, and then even on a more aspect afterwards. So they don't get to see that, especially during a weight cut week, when I come home from a hard training camp, like I was training today, and I come home, and usually I come home and I have, I get my lemon water going and I have a nice meal. I come home and there's not much eating. So it's just more like sitting and trying to relax. So it makes it harder. It does. And then obviously the mental preparation.
Yeah.
This will be my biggest fight this will be my biggest fight. I'm fighting a good guy. His
Mm-hmm.
name's Camille Meller. He's out of Poland. He fights off American Top Team coming out of
Mm-hmm.
Florida. He's a great guy. And you put those into consideration on top of everything else. When you first start fighting in the fight game, and you're really trying to show yourself and make something out of it, there's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of work that goes into it that's overlooked, and there is a lot of sacrifice. And
Yeah.
thank God I have a fiance that's willing to support me on it, because there are times that, she wants to go on a walk. We love going on walks and looking at nice houses and going to the beach and just getting some good
Yeah.
views. And there are times where I can't. I just look forward to just sitting down and putting my legs up for just a split second when I
Yeah.
can,
It's disappointing. You know what I mean? It's very, very disappointing because it's nobody sees the behind the scenes.
Yep.
And even if, and that's the thing, even if they're following you and tracking you to do all these behind the scene footage, they don't have the ones that really, really stand out. Like what happens behind closed doors, what happens when, you just had an amazing fight, camp, and then all of a sudden you have to go home. And now all the pressure of life that you got to deal with that you had to put aside because you were training.
Yep.
And luckily you have the right support next to you,
Absolutely.
but that's also something that affects her as well. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really need a strong person by your side because it's a balance, and people just overlook it, and it's so frustrating. I get frustrated. I don't even know why I get frustrated, but I do. I get so frustrated because they minimize what you do and what your partner does and all of the support that comes along with it. And it's like you need that. You need the
Yeah.
right support. You need it in order to keep moving forward and accomplishing all of your dreams.
It makes the difference. I mean, it really does. Like when I was fighting for the title, we went in and we were doing our weight cut that day.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing the day of weigh-ins. I was doing that final. I had 3 pounds. So I went to sleep with a couple of pounds on me so I could get a little bit of sleep. We're going in to do our last weight cut, and I have Molly with me, my fiance. I got Mitch with me, my best friend from college. Lived with me my whole college time. He lives in Texas. He flies down to finish it up with me. So we go into the gym. We're doing this weight cut, and the whole camp went phenomenal. Everything went great. I was feeling good. I was looking good. I was in good spirits. My weight was coming down. But that last day, I could not get the sweat going. That morning, I don't know why, but it would not start. It wouldn't start. Whether we were doing sauna or we were doing a little bit of mitts, we were doing a little bit of rolling. Some like slow, calm, cool, collected rolling, but it was we were high intensity and I couldn't get it going. And I remember sitting there and I had tried the sauna. We had been in and out of the sauna. I went 5 to 7 times at that point, and I was still bone dry. Could not break a sweat. I was getting worried. So we go in and my heart starts racing. I'm obviously antsy to get the weigh-ins. I know what's going on. And so I started getting a little bit of a sweat going about 2 hours in. And the next thing you know, it cuts off again. And I can't really keep up with it. I was having trouble keeping up. So there was a point where I started to kind of break in a little bit. I got out of the sauna and I laid down on the mat and I laid, we put all the clothing, all the towels over me, started breaking down the sweat. And I started tearing up. I started like getting a little upset, I'm like, oh my gosh, man, like I just tried to keep this going. And you start getting that little bit of a doubt. You really do. You do. I mean, I always tell people, especially when they're doing their weight cuts, if you're not prepared or there are those times where it'll take you to a special place. I remember I was tearing and so I just don't know. I can't get this thing going. We only shedded a pound. I still had like 2.5 to go. And thankfully, Mitch and Molly were there. And Molly looks at me and goes, you're going to go back in. We're going to be fine. Just go back in. And Mitch was like, we'll go in with you. And at that point, I hadn't been able to stay in the sauna for more than 3 to 5 minutes. For some reason, I never had it happen before, but something wasn't cutting right. And next thing you know, I go in there, and Molly sits outside of that sauna, and she's waiting, and Mitch is in the sauna with me. And I lay down, and I remember thinking, we were listening to a podcast, about how people can be able to survive in extreme colds, and they're talking about their breathing, and I'm listening to their breathing, and next thing you know, I'm in there for 45 minutes.
Wow.
180 degrees, and I walk out, and I'm on weight. I'm like, okay. But the fact that I had someone with me and say, hey, you're going back in,
Yes.
you're going to be fine, and I had people right there beside me, you got to have a good support system,
Yes.
because it does suck. There are times it does suck. So it's nice to have people like that in your life. It is. And of course, having teammates that are even better like that too.
Yeah. So the question is, did Mitch cut weight as well?
He did. He cut weight for no reason. He cut weight for no reason. And see, Mitchie, I call him Mitchie. He's a good kid. He was born premature, so he has underdeveloped lungs. So he has a hard time in the sauna. So that was another thing. You know, he walks into the sauna with me, and he sits beside me, and I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? I don't care how bad I feel. He literally isn't supposed to be in these things, and he's in here with me doing it too. So yeah, it ended up cutting some weight. He felt good though. You know, he was walking around with his shirt off. He thought he looked. It's just how he is. He's a good kid though.
That's awesome. Now, in regards to your opponent, is there anything that stands out about him, whether it's where he's training or anything that you've noticed that just stands out?
The one thing that stands out, I've seen his film. We've studied his film. He hasn't fought in over a year. What I've seen, there's good things that he does, and there are bad things that he does. And unfortunately enough, the bad things that he does can put him in a bad situation very quickly. Mm-hmm. Another thing that did stick out to me, though, is that this is his first time on his pro debut that he's fighting at 170 pounds. He usually fights at lightweight at 155 pounds. Now, I did notice that he did miss weight on his last weigh-in by 3 pounds. Mm-hmm. 3 pounds. So I know that he has trouble cutting that weight. So that tells me that he probably does walk around a little bigger. I don't believe he walks more than 180 pounds. There's only a reason that he's going to 170. Mm-hmm. But the things that do stand out to me is truly and honestly his takedown defense. He doesn't have any takedown defense. No takedown defense. He has no takedown defense. I typically don't even try to take a guy down. It's mm-hmm. not what I do as a style. And when he backs up, he's very heavy on his back foot, and his hands drop quickly. So hopefully he keeps his hands up. Hopefully he stays in the middle like where I'm going to be, and hopefully he brings it straight to me. I do believe, though, he is going to bring the fight to me. I do believe that. I do think that he's going to walk out and he's going to try to bring the fight to me. But I do truly not see it making it out of the first round, and that is a guaranteed fact. I do not feel that he can surpass that first round. With my pressure and what I'm doing now, when I lost to Jack, I went back to camp. Mm-hmm. I went back to the drawing board. I figured out where I went wrong. I figured out how to stay mentally composed in situations, not to rush a game and stay true and play my game. And I don't believe he can withstand my pressure. Mm-hmm. But the things that did surprise me, though, was that he was a 155-pounder going to 70 for sure. So I'm excited to see what he looks like, because at 155 he was built pretty good. He was pretty good. So we'll see what he looks at 170.
We've done like 2 or 3 interviews prior, mm-hmm. and you've changed completely. Like, you are not the same person I interviewed back in June or July or August. You've completely. What happens in this year that you've changed? And it's not a bad thing. It's like everything just clicked and fell like right into place.
To be honest with you, it came into the fact that with the fight that I had with Jack, nothing with Jack personally or anything. It came down to the fact that I figured I know that I needed to be more mentally coherent and more mentally prepared for what I was doing. I know that I'm good enough. I've proven that I'm good enough. I've seen it in the practice game, practice all day long. But when I went out there, I evaded my game plan. I tried to rush something that wasn't supposed to be. I never was supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I told myself that I will stay true to what I do, what I'm doing, and listening to my coaches. Mm-hmm. Like I had done before, I had never been on a stage that big. So I'm happy that I got that out of the way when I did in my career, because I really am. I got to see it in front of a huge crowd against a great guy, against all odds. I got to try it out, but it truly comes down to the mental game and being confident in preparation. I'm confident in my preparation is what I am. You know, I put my time in. I don't overthink. I put my trust in what I do and what I'm truly competing for, and the practice time that I put in against the guys that I'm going against. It's not like the guys that I'm going against are, nobodies. These are guys that are really, really good just on the crisp of breaking into the next level. All these guys are. And so when we went back to the gym after that loss, I did take 3 weeks off, got my mind right. And when I walked back in, Coach Pete looked at me and said, "You can hang with anybody on any roster. Yeah. You need to believe it, because if you don't, you're not going to go anywhere. You need to believe it." And I believe Coach Pete with all my heart. He's one of the biggest figures in my life at this point, and I trusted him, and I pursued that, and that's what I believe in. So when I walk into the gym every day, I have a smile on my face. I train hard, and I know what the goal is. That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, and you know what, you said two very important things, and it's to go in there and do exactly what you have planned to do. Don't deviate from what you normally do. Don't change because, whatever happens. And also the key about your mental state, like your mindset, how it needs to be on point, because you could be physically on point and have everything, but the mental part is the one that really, really dominates and dictates the outcome of the fight.
I completely agree with you. I tell new. I was actually telling a fighter this today. His name's Nelson. He was in the sauna with me. He's a new fighter. Came to the gym because I met him and he was influenced by me. I met him randomly out on the street one time, and just so happened he's in my gym now. And I had this conversation tonight, and we were talking about everything. And I was telling him about the mental game. I don't care how physically gifted you are. I don't care how strong or athletic you are. In a gym, when you walk into a cage in front of a crowd, it is a whole different ball game, and you've got to be mentally prepared. I really believe it's a 60-40 split, maybe even a 70-30. It's 70% mental. You got to believe, and you got to know what you're good at and pursuing the plan that you're going to do. I agree with you completely on that.
Yeah, you have to believe it. You have to believe it. You can't, no doubt, no nothing. And if your mind isn't clear, then you got to take a moment. Take a break, take a 5-10 minute and meditate and just clear your mind, do what you need to do to ground yourself and get yourself back into the game, regardless of what's happening. I remember there was a fighter. He had this fight, right? Obviously he's a fighter. He's had a fight, and he must have been going through something. And so he needed to go and kind of like ground himself. Well, he decided to do it like right before his fight. So they're announcing him and they're calling him, and he's outside running, clearing his mind. And they're like, "What are you doing? Like, they're calling you. Like, you got to get out there." And then he went. He knew he needed to ground himself and get himself back centered, because when you're in the back room, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of energy going on. So you really need to just stay focused, because the moment you start like not feeding into it, but paying attention to other people's energy, it kind of like it gets contagious. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you. I really do. I mean, that's like my last fight. So we had people on the card. We had my teammate Kyle and stuff. We're on the card. We're warming up. Kyle's gonna go. There's gonna be a fight, and then they're gonna have a little break, and then I'm gonna go out and we're gonna fight. Right. So we get there. We're warming up. Everything's going good. And then I'm sitting back there warming up, and then I'm noticing that the guy that I'm fighting at the time, some of his team is on my side, and they're warming up. So it's like, and there's only a curtain, but that curtain does make a difference. But I noticed they're warming up on the same side, so I'm like, oh wait a second. I believe it was David Berg. He ended up winning the title that night for the middleweight. And so he's warming up, and so their coaches are going back and forth. I never see the guy I'm fighting, Josh Smith, but I did notice, like, their coaches and teams. I was like, okay, that's weird. So then we're warming up, and I'm getting my mental game going. Kyle's getting ready to go out, and commission comes over, and they're like, "Hey, would you guys mind, switching sides?" And we're like, "All of our stuff's over here. Like, what?" I'm trying to stay like mentally zoned in, and they're like, "I'm like." I just decided not even listen. I was like, if coach tells me to go on this side, I'll go on this side. Whatever's fine. So we ended up not moving, and we ended up just staying there. So people were warming up on both sides, and on the same side, it is what it was. So that happens, and then Kyle goes out, and I'm sitting there warming up, and then I'm sitting down relaxing for a second, just mentally preparing, and then I hear the crowd go wild. But the TV that we had, the live stream froze. It was like 30 seconds behind the crowd. I'm like, oh, what happened? I want to see. I know Kyle's fighting. And then I see Kyle ends up hurting that guy's arm. And I was like, oh, gosh. So then I was supposed to go right out and fight. I'm ready to go. And they're like, okay, it's going to be 15 minutes. We got to wait for the game to come back. We got to take someone. So then they take that guy. And then they're like, oh, it's going to be another 15 minutes. Someone threw up in the crowd. Yeah, because they saw the video. They got to take that person. I'm like, oh, my goodness. So next thing you know, 2 hours later, I ended up making it out to the cage. But even that, staying strong in that situation, it's a lot. It's a big ball game to follow because you're ready to go. You know your teammates going, and then it's one fight. Then you. It's hard. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. But like I said, stay true to what you're doing.
Exactly.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll make it in there just fine.
Yeah. Before we conclude, do you have anything else that you would like to share?
Honestly, I just want to say thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Tell Matt I miss him. Maddie C, I miss him. And then I look forward to talking to you again soon. And if you're not going to be at the fights, at least check them out. And it's going to be a whole weekend of fights, so it'll be a good time.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.